Today's tutorial is all about brows. You asked for it, and I am spilling the tea on how I take my brows from this to this. Yes, I know that my brows are brushed up and filled in to look fuller. Yes, I know that this look is not for everybody. Do I love it? Yes, I do. I happen to love how it looks, and I love a big fat brow. I still get compliments on my brows, and while that doesn't affect how much I love how it looks, it certainly feels good. If you're new here, I'm Jeannie. I'm a pro makeup artist. I live in Los Angeles. I work with celebrities, beauty brands, and everyone in between. Welcome to my channel. Hi! Yes, we are very zoomed in. I let my brows get a little unruly because I really wanted to show you the nitty-gritty of what I do to groom and shape them. My skin is clean and dry. That's very important, especially for the shaping part of this technique, because I don't want any product to get into my brows and affect me being able to place them. The first thing I'm going to do is take a spoolie. This is from Smith Cosmetics, and I'm just gonna run it through my brows and start brushing up to the shape that I usually do. This is just to sort of see where I have any holes, where I might need to fill in. Just looking at my brows right now, I can tell you that I do need to pluck and clean up right around here. And then I do also need to brush up and do a little bit of shaping through here, but we'll get to that. Sometimes what I'll even do is I'll take a little bit of my ABH Brow Freeze on a spoolie and run it through my brows, creating that shape that I like. And then I can see where I need to trim, where I need to pluck, where the holes are, etc. I use this very, very lightly just because I want to be able to get underneath if I need to trim. I don't want to place them down hard because then I won't be able to maneuver them the way that I need. Brushing through very lightly. This one in particular, she gets a little sparse right through here, but she also has a very long tail. So I'm gonna trim that and kind of create that shape, and then I'm gonna have to trim under here as well. Starting with my right brow first, I'm gonna take my cuticle scissors, and I can see right here that I need to trim and just take that little bit of hair off. And then taking the spoolie I was using and brushing up. This brow is my good brow, so I don't really need to trim as much. This one is a completely different story. But I have to remember, as always, sisters, not twins, right? So looking at my brow right now, I really love the length of the hair, so I'm not gonna touch that. I'm just gonna leave it alone. Again, I just wanted to trim the tail right here just to give it that really pretty shape. The hair is a little more stubborn on this side as well, so I'm gonna take a little bit more brow freeze and just pull it through, again, just to give me an idea. And again, looking at my brow, I can see that I want to trim more of the tail here. So I'm gonna take my cuticle scissors, and I don't know if you can see that there's a flat edge on the bottom. I use that as an anchor against my skin when I'm trimming. So we're just gonna take scissors. And take your time with this because once you cut it off, you cannot put it back. I'm just gonna brush through. Again, I love a big fat brow, so I'm not surprised that I didn't have to do a lot of trimming up here because, again, that's going to create the width of the brow. Another thing I like to do before I go into pluck, because I've noticed when I've tried to pluck certain hairs right here, I can't get as precise as I would normally like, so I'll take a face razor and I'll just gently go in and trim what I need. So I don't know if you can see right here, I have a little bit of extra hair that kind of goes up right there. I like to make sure that this line is a straight line. It just gives the brow more of a clean look, in my opinion. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take the razor and I'm gonna trim right here. So then we create that nice flat line. So just taking very, very small strokes, kind of pulling down very, very gently. You don't want to cut yourself. And then another thing that I recommend to do is to step back from the mirror and look. Relax your face and then look at the brow. And you can see that we created a much sharper line there. This one isn't as severe, but you can kind of see that it goes a little bit down here in the front. And I always recommend to just go back in with a spoolie and create that shape so then you can get really precise. Again, I know that my one brow is a little shorter and goes in a little bit more than the other one does. I'm not concerned about that right now. I can fill that in. I just want to make sure that the foundation of both of them has as much symmetry as possible. Now that I've stepped away, I can see that this brow, the hairs go up a little bit farther than this one does. The angle kind of cuts down a little bit more on this side, so I'm going to fix it on this side. I'm going to take the scissors and just trim a teeny bit more. Generally, as a rule of thumb with tweezing, I like to get rid of the hairs down here. If there are any that are close to the actual brow, I try to leave those alone, except if they're in the very middle of the brow. I'm not going to touch anything up here because I've learned the hard way that if you pluck it, it usually does not grow back. That's why I have a big hole on this side. So I'm just going to grab a few of the errant hairs down here that I can see. And the skin is so thin here and so sensitive. This is my least favorite part because I have nipped myself a couple of times with these tweezers and ooh, it smarts. Same thing on this brow. I'm just going to clean up right under here. Only a few hairs, not too many. My brows do get a little bit red from the plucking, so I like to take my ice roller to just help with any inflammation. Feels really good too. I'm telling you, one of the best investments I ever made was this ice roller. I think it's maybe $9 on Amazon. It's a little shocking at first when you put it on your skin, but after that, ooh, it's like the best kind of shock. It just feels so good. It's great for depuffing the eyes. And again, for taking down any inflammation from plucking and tweezing. Feels so good. Before I fill in my brows, I want to take a reusable cotton pad on some BIODERMA. This is my industrial size that I got from Costco. I love it. I'm going to clean my brows, clean away the brow freeze that I used so we can start fresh. This is also nice and cooling too, so it feels really good. Plus, I feel like it kind of sanitizes the skin after you're plucking that hair, so hopefully it helps with any breakouts or any irritation. I don't have sensitive skin, but I do have reactive skin, if that makes any sense. All right, my brows are still a little bit red, but I want to keep going and show you how I fill them in. I'm going to take a spoolie. This one is from e.l.f. I got it from Target. I love it particularly because it ends in a point here and you can do a lot of precision work as far as getting in there and getting those little hairs and placing them where you want, as opposed to just a regular spoolie that's the same width all the way through. I like that this one has a little bit of a point. I'm going to take this spoolie and I'm going to take my ABH brow freeze and just grab a little of it. Sometimes I'll even work it off the back of my hand, as always. And then I'm just going to take it and brush backwards through my brows. And then start brushing up. And just seeing where they go. And you can see the trimming that we did has created that nice shape on the tail. And then what I'll do is I'll check in a mirror close up and pick up my spoolie and make sure I got all those stray hairs on the bottom. And then I'll take the end of a brush and press them down like that. Same thing on the other side. Just gonna brush back through the brows, then brush up. Now because this brow is a little more stubborn, I'm going to pull the brows more this way as opposed to up because I have less hair on this side. So in order to create that shape that I like, we have to fill in right here. So there's a little bit more of a bend to this brow than there is to this one. Grabbing a little more brow freeze. Like that. Another thing I wanted to mention is when I bought this spoolie, it was straight. I like to bend my spoolies, probably because I love the Smith one so much. I love the angle of it. It just allows for a better angle when you're brushing the hairs. Same for this. I just bent it, so then it would be a little bit easier for me as far as my hand placement when I'm brushing through my brows. I like to take my fingers and press out any excess product. I'm going to wait for my brows to dry. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the next product that I like to use in my brows. It doesn't take very long for the brows to dry, but I have learned the hard way that if you go in with the product while the brows are still wet, It's not going to give me the effect that I like or that I want. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I love this product. It's the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Pen. I have 2 shades. Do you need 2 shades? No. I have 2 shades because I'm crazy and I love a big fat brow that's multidimensional. So I have the espresso pen and I have the ash brown pen. The espresso pen is a little bit deeper and I tend to use that on the top of my brow where I want to fill in and create more volume. And then the ash brown I will use throughout my brow because it's a little bit lighter. But the espresso on its own throughout my whole brow was just a little bit too much. So I started using ash brown along with it. Sometimes I'll just use ash brown on its own and that's really beautiful too. But when I have holes that I need to fill, I really love the espresso because it gives it that depth and it gives me the shape that I like. And the ash brown lends a little bit more softness, which makes it look, I guess, a little more natural if you want to say that my brows look natural, which I know they probably don't. I want to show you my left brow in particular as far as when I'm filling in. I'm going to take the espresso pen. You're going to get a view of my mirror. I apologize. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in right on top here. So I'm just going to take and start mimicking hair. And it's just creating the beginning of that shape. I recommend to do a few hairs, step back, take a look, go back in, draw on a few more, step back, take a look. I don't really have to do that as much anymore because I'm used to drawing this brow on, but I do recommend it. Sometimes I'll pull down like this. And I'm sparse up here, so I like to use the espresso, like I said. And it just helps create that shape. Tiny, tiny strokes. And then we'll finish that tail like that. I'll do a few in the front here. And then I'll take it underneath. But do you see how the shape is coming together? Same brow, we're going to take the ash brown. I'm just going to continue to fill in. Where I don't really have a lot of hair. And just create a little bit of length. But you want to keep it really soft. You don't want to have that harsh square. Taking it a little bit underneath. Very sparingly. And then filling in the tail. I'm going to bring this line down to match the line over on the other side. I'm not saying you have to do it like this. This is just how I do it. And then if you feel like you've ever put too much product down on your brow, you can always tap it. That should help to just kind of blur it. Final step, and I swear by this, it creates a bulletproof brow. Set them with setting spray. Before you do your makeup, before you do your skincare, it really helps on those hot days too. That's my full step-by-step brow grooming and shaping technique. I usually only do this full routine a few times a year because my brows don't grow very quickly. So I like to take the time to refine the shape so it's easier for me to fill them in. Please subscribe if you haven't already and check out my other tutorials for more makeup tips. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next week with a brand new video.